Hey people, welcome back. Today we're going to be testing the trigger pull on the GHK Glock 17 Gen 3 with the improved trigger installed. Now, if you watched my improved trigger installation video, you'll know that I already did a trigger pull test in that video, but I made a few mistakes, as well as there were some requests that I do the test with a gas-filled magazine to see if that affected the trigger pull. And that's why we're making this video. So we're going to test the trigger pull with no magazine. Then we're going to test it with a gas-filled magazine. I was originally going to test it with a empty magazine, but unfortunately there were issues with that, which I'll get into at the end of the video. And throughout the video, I will correct some of the mistakes that I made in my installation guide and review video. So let's go and get started. The first video I'm showing you here is no magazine trigger pull test, and you should be able to see that the average comes out to 4 pounds and 9 ounces roughly. In the original video, I stated that this was an incredibly high trigger pull, very heavy trigger pull. However, that is actually, while being kind of accurate for Airsoft, is not true for the real steel. The real steel Glock 17 should have a trigger pull between 5 pounds and 5.5 pounds. So this is actually very close to the actual weight. It's actually slightly under. In my original video, I said 4.9 pounds, but I didn't realize how I was reading it at first. It's not 4.9, it's 4 pounds, 9 ounces. So it's a little bit under the actual real steel trigger pull. However, that's not an issue because now we're going to do it with a gas-filled magazine, and you can see that having gas in the magazine brings it all the way up to 5 pounds and 2 ounces, which is right above the low average for the real steel. That is awesome because it means that the GHK engineers specifically took into account the amount of pressure in the magazine and the amount of resistance that would cause to make sure that the trigger pull stayed true to the real steel. So that's pretty awesome that they did that. Also, I want to throw out something here that the gas in the magazine should not affect the trigger pull too much because of the unique design that GHK decided to go with here. In normal gas output valves, the gas in the magazine is what holds it shut. However, in the GHK version, the valve is primarily being held shut with a spring. The gas is slightly holding it shut, I think, but it should have a minimal effect on it. And in my original video, I stated that 5 pounds was a very heavy trigger pull, but that is only in comparison with Airsoft replicas. The most similar replica I have to compare it against is the Elite Force PPQ, which also has the blade trigger safety in here. And it only has a 1 pound and 12 ounce trigger pull, substantially lighter than the GHK gun. But as previously stated, the 5 pound trigger pull is authentic to the real steel. So this is not an issue. It just takes time to get used to the much higher trigger pull in comparison to the other replicas that you may have been using. Okay, the third test I wanted to do originally was an empty magazine in the gun test, which I thought would work perfectly fine. But there is a strange issue. So let me go ahead and show you what it's doing. I pull back the trigger and then it goes straight back forward again. Okay, that time it worked, but it's not, and actually if you heard there, before I even pulled the slide back, it clicked back forward again. Let me see if I can do that again. Ugh, whoops. So as you can see, I'm having some serious issues with that. Just going to go ahead and remove the slide real fast. So you guys can see what's going on behind the scenes here. So what should be happening, in case you're not already familiar with this little lever right here should be popping back and up. So kind of like this. This little guy right here. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and pull the trigger. And you can see that it is pushing the valve. It's just not locking back in the rearward position. Now, okay, fine, it doesn't want to do that, but if I use my finger, it works every time. And even trying to do it extremely slowly still works. So I'm not sure what's going on behind the scenes here, but there you go. If you guys have any theories, please let me know. I'm curious to know. So I'm not going to be doing a test with that simply because I could get it to work sometimes, but based on the results were all over the place. It was down to 3 pounds, up to 6 and over pounds. It was, the variance was massive, and I don't want to mislead anyone with false information if I can help it. And technically speaking, those numbers don't necessarily matter that much. The biggest number in my mind is with the gas-filled magazine, because that's what you're going to be feeling in the field. So I want to thank the users that pointed out to me the actual trigger pull weight of the real steel Glock. I am very appreciative of that. Thanks to the users over at the Heavy Recoil Club who requested that I test it with a gas-filled magazine. I appreciate that too. And if there's any other tests that you guys want done with the Glock 17, just let me know and I'll see what I can do. Until the next video, stay safe, guys.